On the channel today, we are answering a very simple question, but it's huge. And that question is, how can I come to Canada? Simple as it is filled with so many information that you need to assess critically before you can actually make that move. This question was brought up by one of our viewers, and it is actually pertinent that I answer this question so that all of you will get a clear indication or clarity as to making a decision before you come to Canada. Well, it is not as simple as saying pack your bag and then you get a ticket and you board a plane and come to Canada. It is not as easy as that. The very first things you need to put in place, the first thing you need to do is what they call a needs analysis. When you say needs analysis, we are referring to you analyzing, why do I need to come to Canada? How much fund is required for me to get to Canada? Do I have the amount needed to make this big decision to move? Am I going to be surprised by the cultural change, by the weather, the things that I'm going to get there? Well, those are the needs analysis that you need to put into place first. You need to do that. That is the number one thing you need to do. Having done that, you want to check, that is, for me, my eligibility. Now, what do they require for one who wants to come to Canada? For example, they require what they call credential assessment. You need to get an ECA done, that is your qualification back home, be it a secondary school qualification, higher institution, that is the university, polytechnic, whether you have a degree or a master's. These need to be evaluated so that it is compared to the Canadian education systems. They have different bodies that does that in Canada. So you need to do that first. Now the question is, do I have one if I want to get to Canada? The next thing is, do I have or am I required to do what they call language tests? Of course, not all countries are required to do that. But if your countries are required to do that, have I done that? So those are checking your own eligibility. The basic question that many people forget, do I have an international passport? Yeah, you can get all of this done, but now you're not having an international passport. That is something that will put like a spanner into the work. Then the next thing you do is to use free eligibility website. I strongly suggest, don't pay money for that, yes, because people collect so much money. You can actually go to the Government of Canada website and you will use their free eligibility. It's there. So you only need to impute probably your age, the level of your education, and it will definitely produce a score for you. To do that, I will drop the link to that free portal in the description below so that you can assess yourself even right now to see your options. And once you've done that, you want to take note of the different options. That is, what is it that I'm qualified for? What are the different routes that is open for me to actually come to Canada? And once you pick one, then you can actually do the very next step that I'm going to talk about. But what are those different routes that we are talking about? Yes, you can actually come to Canada to work. And coming to work, you can do that on a temporary work visa. You can process that and come to Canada. You can actually come to Canada as a visitor. Yes, you spend money for pleasure, come to see places, holidaying as the case may be. And yeah, once you are approved, your eligibility done and your passport stamp, you are on the plane coming to Canada. You can actually come to Canada to study. So many people, international students, are here having their place in study. And to tell you the truth, the study route is one way that many people actually use to get their PR. Because after your work permit, that is after your study has been completed, you'll be given what they call a postgraduate work permit, which is actually an equivalent to the duration of your study. So let's say you study for 2 years, you will be getting a postgraduate work permit for 2 years. And in those 2 years, you should be technically and logically be transitioning to a permanent residence. So you don't let it becloud your memory or your head that, oh, I'm here. Think it through. Make the plan even before you move, so that you will see the different pathways that are open for you. So once you are a student, you're going to look at, after my study, what are those routes that I can use to move from a student to become a permanent resident? Know this, know the different routes before you move. Because many people come to Canada as a student, and after their study, they get a postgraduate work permit, and they are just, in their head, they are just here. And what happens? The postgraduate work permit expires, and there is no time to apply or to transition to permanent resident. And guess what? They are told to go back home. That should not be your case. So even before you move, you should have made all these decisions. What are those routes? If I'm going to use the student route to come to Canada, after my study, what next? After the postgraduate work permit, what next? What are my options? If you have all of this in place, you can walk them through when you are in Canada. You can also decide to come as an immigrant. In other words, you've decided to come straight as a permanent resident, and there are so many routes for this purpose. You can actually use the rural immigration pilot program. These are the communities in the northern part of Canada. They are looking for people, and employers actually look for skilled workers from abroad, and they give them work. And this, in 6 months' time, using the RNIP, you can be on your way to Canada. Another route is the PNPs, which is called Provincial Nominee Programs. They are huge. You have about 81, I think, or more, PNP programs scattered in all the provinces. If you want more about PNPs, you can get them in my channel. I have discussed extensively of using the PNP routes. And one that I actually do suggest for many people is the Saskatchewan Immigration Program. For me, it is very, very simple. You can look at the express entry route. Express entry route is actually good if you are young, say from 30 or from 25 to 35 years, and you have a very good IELTS or language score. You can now get into the pool, and when the draw is made, you can be given an invitation to apply to come to Canada. You can decide to use, in the express entry, there's actually what they call the federal skilled workers. You can use a skilled trade, and you can actually, again, get work from whatever country you are to Canada. In other words, checking work sites that actually advertise for foreign nationals. In my channel, I think I will discuss how you can get job. And one popular website is the Government of Canada website, which is the job bank. Some time ago, I've actually made a video that walk you through the process, step by step, how you can actually get job, even from your country to Canada, through using the job bank. I use the job bank as an example. So you can, lastly, you can be sponsored. So a family member can actually sponsor you. The family member could be a spouse, it could be your parents, it could be your mom or granddad. They can sponsor you to Canada. And one huge or new process that is being mentioned frequently now is coming in to Canada as a refugee. I'm not going to talk about that, but I'll leave the link to that in the Government of Canada website, so that you can go through if you're interested in any of these routes. And once you've made your options from all these lists that I've enumerated, it's left for you to pick one of it or two. depending on your choice. And once you've done that, you can go ahead to make the application. The application could just be creating an expression of interest as the very first step, or making a direct application to the immigration body. It could be to a province, or you're applying direct to the Government of Canada. So decide which of these routes. Check your eligibility and pick one, and you will be on your way to Canada. If you found value thus far, please like the video, share the video so that others can get value from it, and subscribe to my channel so that we all can grow. And if you have questions, drop them in the comment section below, and I can use them to actually answer them in subsequent videos so that others too will benefit from it. And I will see you in the next video.